My name is Queenie Love, and I am the host of Disrupting Silence podcast. And today I am joining Beverly and we have Doreena in my studio. And we're going to be talking about the Let Them Theory by the marvelous Mel Robbins. So check it out. We are going to dive into this book and talk all the things. We tried to pull out at least 3 points. I didn't know how this is going to go. So we're going to let it be organic. But guess what? We do have a roadmap because Beverly was nice enough to create that. But I am probably the worst driver ever. So I'm going to do my best.
So I did something different this year. I wrote my eulogy and did like a vision board and some planning on a much more intentional level. And one of the things that I kept feeling that was popping up, that getting in the way and being a drainer for me, was this idea of control. And so when I saw her book, and like you said, I follow her on her podcast, I feel like so much of her life is like where I'm at. I want to have dinner with her and hang out with her. I think she'd be super fun. But it really was about, I grew up an only child and I was definitely used to having my way. I don't think my parents ever wanted me to be a brat, but I certainly never had to like share and things like that. And I think as I've gotten older, when I was younger too, it's exhausting trying to control everything. I own my own business. I have a podcast. I've written a book. I am a high performer, overachiever, and there's only so much you can do in a day. And I don't need to take on all of that other crap too. And I'm just trying to teach myself to let it go. This is more let them and then let me, because I think that's the other part of it. It's okay to just let sit in my own boundaries, my own sense of control of me. So there's this really two big parts of choosing where to focus your energy and what you have left at the end of the day for others and for yourself. And I think that these concepts that she talks about, the stories that she shares are really life. You can apply them to any of our lives. So I just really felt like I need to work on this part of me. Maybe it's because I'm older and now I don't want to care about what other people do. And I care too deeply. It's exhausting to care that much.
Oh, yeah. You said so much with that. It's exhausting to care that much. I absolutely love and agree. And I have a follow-up that I will share in a moment that I just recently talked about in therapy. I had my therapy session today. We were talking about this. I did share that we're doing this book, and that took my therapy session to a different direction. But before I share, I want to turn to Doreena because I want to know, like, she's almost 50 pages, only got 50 pages to go. So she's pretty much finished the book. Doreena, your take on the overarching theme of this book, and had you ever been introduced to Mel Robbins?
I'm not a podcast junkie, I have to admit. And I know she had books before she had a podcast. I have to say, no, I'm familiar with the name, but not with her work. I can honestly say I only picked up this book because you recommended it and wanted to talk about it. So in terms of the let them, I feel like I have adopted that philosophy, but not in those words. Right. When I turned about 45, I'm 55 now for the record, I wasn't ready in some of my relationships to let them. And in others, I'm finally getting to the point where I feel like I can let them in all of my relationship. And I think it's so simple, let them, let me. But it's just really profound and amazing. I love it. It's fantastic. Listen, I don't always buy books. I buy books I know I'm going to read again and again. Otherwise, I go to the library. But I'm buying this book for both of my daughters and for my. So important to be able to say, you know what, let them, let me. And these are lessons that I think everyone can use.
What that? I love that.
I have joined the club of R&D. A little bit about Mel Robbins. She's really cool. I don't agree with 100% of everything she says, but I love that. I love that she challenges me to just be like, really? But I also love the fact that I did put it out there. You took a bite and was like, okay, I'll do it. And you actually appreciate it and you like it and you're using it. That's the best. I hate to actually suggest a book and it's like, why did Queenie suggest that book? Now, one thing I will say personally, I felt initially that it was such an oversimplified concept.
Yes.
And when the mirror turned around and I had to look at the work that I had to do, then I'm like, okay, here we go. Now, this is really the meat of it, right? Because we can wear this shirt, I can get the tattoo. A bunch of people are getting that tattoo. But the hardest part is the let me, going back to what you're saying, Bev, being a control freak or whatever you want to call it. We're managing all the things because we can. Sometimes when we give up that agency, the apart, not because we do it better, just because it just fell apart over there when someone else was in charge of it. And I too took it upon myself to do all the things. Some of my fears are valid. I think the fear that I had in the whole concept, if I'm honest, as I was sharing with my therapist, was the fear of rejection, for seeing people for who they really are and the people that you really want to stay connected to. My therapist recently just challenged me, don't call, don't text, don't do this, don't do that, and just sit with yourself and see who reaches out. She asked me, where do you feel what I feel? Because I physically responded to her when she said to do that. And I told her, I feel like, she said, that is your fight or flight response. So the work that she gave me for the week was to figure out, what am I afraid of when it comes to releasing people from the relationship? Whatever they decide to do, just let them. And I'm like, Dr. Doreena, you trip. But this week, because I know I was reading this book and I got a report back here in a couple weeks, I was just like, you know what, sis, you're going to get through this. You're going to do this and you're going to feel everything you feel. Mm-hmm. I also have to let me and make my decision. Is it okay or not? How do I feel about this? So that's what this book did for me. Was I started putting it to the test. Oversimplified as it was, I started finding that some of this work was really tough. It was tough.
It's deep stuff. It affects so many aspects of your life, so many relationships, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with how you are viewed by others, your relationship with even like trying to make people fit a mold that you think that they should fit into. Every aspect of my life is somehow touched in some way in this. I find that for me, maybe the first step into this, when Doreena talked about being 45, was about 3 years ago. A couple of clients fired me. And I was really upset about it. And it gave me some time to get some clarity. And the fact of the matter was that I should never have even taken them on as a client. And I probably should have fired them way before they fired me. Because at the end of the day, I couldn't pull them across the finish line as hard as I wanted to do it. I could not pull them across the finish line. And so what that defined for me in my business was, I don't want to work with those kind of people. I got really clear about who I do want to work with. Let me work with who lights me up and makes me happy. And that was life-changing, Queenie. Yeah. My work is so much more joyful, so much more fulfilling, so much, I'm not stressed. It's a game changer.
I love that for you. Choosing who you want to work with. Isn't it beautiful to be able to have that? So you can't see Doreena, but she is in total agreement with you. So talk to us, Doreena, what jumped out at you?
Just like you said, a choice. Because you have your own business, or whether it's because you resolve within yourself that you're not going to do the same thing that you've been doing. You're not going to make the same choice, because it really does come down to choice. The idea of control really resonates with me. And it took me, I was way into my adult years before I realized, oh, I have issues with control. So that really resonates. And being able to just say, it's going to be what it's going to be. I agree with you. I love that for you. I choose to have people in my life that bring me joy, that uplift me, that it's fun, it's enjoyable. I think that one of the lines in the book, she says that people are drawn to things that feel good, are fun, and are easy. Life doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, because honestly, the things we can't control, they're hard enough. Stop wasting your life and time and energy on things you really cannot control. Mm-hmm. And we really can't control people. And the spin on that is, but we can influence.
Yes. And if you don't decide, then I have to either decide to accept you wholly for that or leave, whatever that looks like.
The leaving part was challenging for me because of my own childhood wounds of abandonment. And so with the abandonment experiences and feelings being deep rooted in me, I realized that it was harder at times for me to leave unhealthy spaces and relationships and connections. Yeah. I've never been an addict for drugs or anything like that, but I have been addicted to people. I've been addicted to connection. Yeah. Been addicted to the love, affection, right? And whether it's toxic or unhealthy or whatever, it's exhausting. And it feels so good now that I just release it and be like, whatever. I used to say what will be, but I was still holding on. Now I just move on to the next thing. And it doesn't mean I don't care. It means that I cannot continue to try to control what I can no longer control.
And it doesn't mean you don't get hurt in the process either.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that it's still really hard to make that choice. Yeah. And good for you. Like, that's such a pivotal moment to be able to do that, to have that fortitude to say, no, this is not for me, despite this deep, very profound wound of abandonment inside of I have the same wound. My father left when I was very young. I have a very similar wound. Everybody has wounds. I always wanted to fix everybody. That was my thing.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody was a project.
Yeah, I think women's services work, for heaven's sakes.
Social worker. And everybody got married after me.
Oh, wow.
So I fixed them. I made them the perfect boyfriend. And laugh about, no, I've been there. I can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
Exhausting though.
We're going to take a turn, and I want to dive off of one of those talking points or takeaways that you have over there.
I think a revelation for me was trying to control others is emotional immaturity in disguise. You think that you have it all together, but despite the thought like you're like making things better or like more controlled, actually is not. I'm a Christian, but I do believe that Buddhists have a very peaceful life because they just let it go all the time. It's this full acceptance of others and a full acceptance of the situation. And as a foster parent, as an army wife, what I've learned is you have control of nothing. It was such a profound change when I got married and had all these things happen. Because I went from being by myself, having my own house, my own life, my own career, my own everything to so many interconnected pieces. I just cannot possibly have a plan A, plan B, plan C. I can't possibly do that. So as I've gotten more mature as even an army wife, it's just the army's going to do what's going to do. I can't control it. I have really started to take these moments of acceptance, but at the beginning, I'd throw a little tantrum. Gosh, the Army's always running my life. I'm always making plans. I make plans for vacation and it screws off my plans. I literally would have a tantrum and be upset about it. That tantrum did nothing to solve the problem. That tantrum didn't make the Army say, oh yeah, okay, your husband can go home for vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of control as a kid for a lot of things, like my father leaving and we moved 28 times and you talk about all the things that happened. I didn't have a lot of control in that. So that emotional immaturity started then over some of that. Now, I decided a long time ago that I'm going to parent myself the way I wanted to be parented. So I'm going to be calmer. I'm going to be all the things that I feel like I would have wanted that I did not receive. And now I get to be more mature in these situations and not make it all about me. I can control me and I can say, okay, this is what I think is acceptable and this is how I'm going to react in this situation. Not that it's always easy.
Oh, I totally agree. It is not easy. Sometimes we're going to act out, right? And wherever that childhood wound is at, that's where we're stuck. For me, I wasn't protected. So I stand up for me more than I ever imagined I would. And sometimes it comes off like I'm being rude or nasty, and I'm not. I'm truly stepping in front of my 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old self, and I am protecting her. So I don't make any apologies. I'm still growing up because that little girl, her growth was stunted. So sometimes that's where she's at. And I think even when I was reading this book, I'm having this argument with Mel, right? Yeah, I started protecting the little girl. But again, that's the work, right? This book, this theory, this concept challenges us in places that probably needs to be built up a little bit. Do more push-ups, right? Needs to get a little bit honed and
You're right.
And so that's where I took it when I start feeling like a personal attack, right?
I don't forget when you're hangry and there's hormones involved. I'm of a certain age where I'm going through perimenopause and all the things. Like you have certain control of things, but there are times where you are triggered. You have to give grace to yourself too, like in those moments as well. So don't just give grace to everybody else. Give some grace to yourself. And just like you said, we're all still growing up. We're all still trying to figure it out.
And I think Mel, she touches on that later in the book. She made me feel a little better because at first I was like, oh no, girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what happened to her. I was having an out-of-body experience. I'm protecting my child because no one did it then. And I'll be damn if I'm not going to think for her now, right? But in the book, I can appreciate that Mel addresses all of that. And the beauty of this, it has really allowed me to just be more reflective. Perspective looks itself and really figure out a way to redevelop. Right. I want Doreena to jump in because what you said just spoke to me. And I'm like, yeah, let me just tell you about my little girl over here.
Yes, it's amazing. The control thing, I know that there's still childhood trauma that I'm dealing with that I can't yet identify. And I'm hoping that my therapist and I will get to that. But there's certainly, whether it was my siblings, whether it was my friend, my romantic partners, my husband, my children, co-workers, there was always something that, but I didn't identify it as control. It was, why can't this person do this like this? Or why can't this speak like this? Trying to compel them to do or behave or say the way I want them to. And I follow this woman named Destiny on Instagram, and she talks about parenting, but I wish I found her 6 or 7 years ago when I was struggling to try to control my daughter, and when I should have just let her be, just let her. I was reading a little bit about adults that are struggling with whatever it is and how challenging it is to let go. Because I think you were saying you want, or someone was saying you want to fix people. You constantly want to fix people. And also something you said earlier, Queenie, my wanting to fix people is, yes, it's because I feel like I want that person to be however I define it. And the other thing is, even though 10 years ago, I was like, man, just forget it, F it, I didn't adopt the let me part. I know anything about the let me part. You got to go a little bit further. And I hadn't quite done that.
No one told us that part. It's like, when I let them do that, then what about me? We didn't know, like, if I let them, then I'm gonna feel alone. If I let them, then they may abandon me. If I let them, then it's not gonna get done. If I let them, we may not eat. If I let them, then I'm gonna feel abused. If I let them, then I'm not gonna feel loved. It's difficult to just let them without a formula of what am I doing in the meantime?
I think that's really hard for, especially women. I feel like society puts all this extra pressure on us to be freaking perfect. You got to work, you got to have the family, you got to balance, you got to be this, you got to have a beautiful house, you got to do all these things. And there's just all these expectations to be perfect. It's an impossible vision. And I think what's lovely now is women of our generation is redefining what it means to be a woman. And that we are teaching the younger generations, like, you don't have to put up this crap. And I think it's ever a balance. It's like more of a harmony. Occasionally you're going to be this, and occasionally you're going to be this, and occasionally you're going to be this. You're just supposed to sit there and look pretty and not say something. How we were raising as a kid, you get told these things over and over. So by expressing your, like, let them, it's almost as if you're counterculture.
Wow.
That's so powerful, though.
Yeah.
Not to go against your own head and your own trauma and all the stuff that's going on inside of you, but you have these outside forces constantly telling you how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, the social media world of everything is perfect, Instagram perfect, and all that. Hard.
Listen, this is falling over. Don't even care. You'll be looking at the background, I'm like, oh yeah, it's an award. I'm not even bothered to straighten it up. Not even bothered to straighten up. Like, it's okay. Want to show, we want everything to be perfect, the lighting, and I get it. Presentation is everything. But sometimes we just got to show the realness of it and be like, you know what? I don't even have my eyebrows on today.
It's too late for that.
That our apps can put eyebrows on.
They're putting way better eye makeup than I ever would.
Yeah, no, seriously. One thing you said, you were mentioning that pressure, that outside and inside voice that we carry, that people are constantly feeling because they're trying to conform and all this pressure. And as I was listening to both of you, I started thinking, let me make it more personal. Like, what about when people want us to conform, want us to change, want us to be not authentically who we are so that they're comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
That's some weird pressure that I hate. I'm uncomfortable. I feel like I'm in a prison. I don't feel like I'm being myself. I feel like I'm pretending. And I just want to get away from that environment so I can go and be me. And so imagine the pressure that we put on ourselves. To put out to other people, because it's the same thing that we run from and we don't like, really put on us. And I do love the fact that you do differentiate between our children or adults in this let them theory, because I do believe we have a responsibility to our children to guide them and to help them and to pull them off the ledge. At some point that changes, right? At some point we have to release because, hey, they're not jumping up that ledge. They just want to wear those ugly shoes to their prom. Okay, let them. Right. But as I was reading that, I started thinking about the pressure that I put on my daughter for years that had to have been stifling and smothering. And now she's an adult and we can talk about it. And I'm almost ashamed. I thought I was doing good, but then I think, the pressure that she probably felt. I had a different set of tools. Maybe I could have presented that same thing differently so it didn't bruise her up so much, right? At the time, I meant well. I did.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make small of her bruises. You know what I mean? Like, she felt my words. I never said anything like negative, you're this, you're not that. No, I just tried to influence her very aggressively about eating healthy, physically fit, making sure she presented well. Don't speak this way. And again, I thought I was doing well. I do now look back and I'm like, wow, I can only imagine how she felt. But what I realized is that I did make her feel like she wasn't good enough.
Like, especially for African-American women, you are held to a different standard. So you're just trying to make sure that she shows up the way society will accept her.
I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
I think that there's extra pressure based on where you stand in society, right? I think the minorities, women, the community, we all have to perform at a different level to be accepted.
Yeah.
So I think you were doing your best thinking, and because of the time that you were raised, to make sure she showed up in society to get the most respect, because you wanted her to get respect in the world.
That's right.
Period. And what she just wanted was you to accept her for who she was.
I say it to Doreena because she got some teenage girls. They were teenagers. Now they're women. So when they were younger, I thought I was doing the right thing. But she and I had that first conversation where she was like, amnesty, can I say what I want? And so when she started talking, the first thing I did was I defended. But then later, it sunk in, and acceptance crept into my bedroom in the middle of the night. I began to just let her. And when I tell you that releasing of and accepting and just watching her flourish without that pressure of, Mom wants me to do this. She don't have to go out the back door. You know what I mean? She don't have to hide her tattoo. I'm just like, oh, girl, I'm able to let her. And when I tell you it feels so liberating for me, I got the gift because now I'm like, she's happy. I have been like relieved of this ridiculous duty of controlling. And the other beautiful thing about it is she told me, my friends accept me. They know who I am. And I'm like, why couldn't I have gotten that earlier? I got it now.
It's so hard. You just want the best for your children.
Free.
It's so hard to let them go to that and fly in their own space. Because like I said, the society's telling them to do something. Their brain's telling them to do something. That's a lot of voices telling you to do something.
Now she's gone out to DC tonight with a boyfriend. Girl, please let them, girl, take them heels and go. I'm loving it. I am loving it.
So now, what's lovely about this and the gift that you said you got a gift, but the gift that you have given her is to allow her to have that freedom so much sooner than we are experiencing that.
Absolutely.
So powerful.
Someone listen to this. I don't want them to feel like it's like giving in or what. No, it's not that. It is truly just letting people be who they are. And in the middle of that, it's truly learning to respect individuals' journey. So, Doreena, how have you applied this let them theory to your girls as they grew up? Because you taught me about the girls that I know how amazing they are, but I also know how it is being a mom and all the different changes. But how have you applied that, or have you applied that?
Like I said, I adopted a philosophy of listening. It's probably when my oldest was, I don't know, we was always in a rocky relationship, and I was definitely aggressively trying to control her. My children reflected me. It was also how I didn't want them to be received in public. I'm addressing two things. One, with like not wearing a bra. I'm not walking out in public not wearing a bra. When they want to wear certain types, that's their way of expressing themselves. I can't say, oh, you should wear that because someone will say X, Y, Z. That has been a very hard lesson for me to say, you know what? I can't put my stuff on them because I don't want to stifle Wayne, because they deserve to live their lives. Our children are learning some lessons and getting that freedom long before we did. But probably when she turns 7 is when I was like, I give. I'm no longer required to try to control the way you behave, what you don't do. Where she would go off on me, I would just take note and jot them down and listen, and I would have no rebuttal, essentially. Although she would get mad at me because I was taking notes, and I'm like, girl, I'm old, I'm gonna forget. But let her be who she's going to be and stop trying to control the outcome of who she does become. Because it came more about me and how people view my children as a reflection of me than just letting them be the adults, the young adults that they're going to end up being. So that's been a very challenging lesson for me to just be. And I'm not immersed, or I don't care, or I'm not providing guidance. I want you to have free will, like where you can say to someone else, let them and let me. Yeah, that's been a journey.
Yeah, I think it's really challenging with kids. And I love the fact that Mel addresses that. It's tough with children. And she and her daughter, Sawyer, and her son, she had to struggle. So I do believe that it is very challenging. And as our children evolve and they go into different phases and stages.
Moving from the control to guidance, that's the part that I think is the evolution in that.
Yeah, I love that guidance. Now that I'm older, now that she's older, and I'm beginning to put this into practice over the last few years, our relationship has gotten way better. And I can feel it now. I can feel that. So yes, Beverly, you are correct.
There's a phrase that I use with Zeke because we adopted him, right? His name is Ezekiel, I mean, gift from God. And so I truly believe that we are here to shepherd him.
Nice.
And I oftentimes say, I'm not here to control all of his behaviors. I am here to shepherd him and to have the most positive behaviors I possibly can. So I pick my battles accordingly. Like what he wears, yeah, I disagree with, but I'll say you can wear whatever you want, but when it's church or it's some special occasion, I get to choose. There's like certain things, like I give and take and some of that. He's 9 and he has ADHD and there's some challenges and it's hard. We have to let them make mistakes. We have to help them develop independence. We have to, so that they can become who they're supposed to be on this planet.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, the kids part, I think we've gotten that. We're still getting it. But they know they're good. They're okay. It's the adult relationships. I want to spend, because so much of this book, I think, is about how we show up in adult relationships. One of the things that was a real driver for me was when she talked about the friendship and how she kirked out on friendships. And I put a post up right after reading one of the sections on friendship. And I said, we can't always take it personal when people lose connection because everybody is in a different stage and phase of their life. And am I guilty of that? Maybe, but I don't think I did it to the extent that maybe Mel did. But I saw it happen in friendships. And I remember feeling, God, why are they so angry? Is no one available to them? And I didn't really understand it. So I started thinking about what that must look like. And I really went over, just did an inventory of my life and start looking at different times that I've seen that or felt maybe a little bit of what she shared, but more so how I watched other people. And so when I made that post on Facebook, one of my followers was like, forget that. If they don't talk to me, they ghost me, I'm gone. And I was just like, I felt what Mel was expressing in this person, it was real for them. And then a couple other people got on there and they were just like, yeah, I've learned that, Queenie, I've learned that. And I said, you know what? I realized for me, it has come with an emotional maturity. I don't like being ghosted. And I realized that because I broke up with a friend. I literally broke up with a friend last year. She may or may not know I'm gone, but I broke up with a friend. I broke up because I felt like I had always been that friend, always welcoming, always open. You're down today, you're depressed, you're not feeling good. Guess what? I'm going to knock on your door, whether it's virtual or reality. And I'm like, I can come down in that hole with you for a little bit, but just know I'm here, right?
Yeah.
If you want me to pull you out, then trust me, I'm throwing the rope down. If you just want me to put the rope down and I climb down and sit with you, I'm doing that. And I know with this particular friend, I had served so much of myself and they ghosted me. It took me about 2 years to take it personal when I realized that they were still active and existing. And I just felt like I didn't understand if I'd done anything. And so when I was reading Mel, I was like, oh, I remember feeling this. Like them. I don't even know if they even know I broke up with them. But I had to do that because it was the let me. Because the let them was, I was hanging on and they had already gone. And I was still trying to be readily available just in case they came back.
Yeah.
And then because I'm working on not suffering through some adult abandonment issues, I was like, wait, instead of me waiting for them to break up with me, I can go ahead and find and had to protect myself and to break the cycle. But here's my truth. It's not personal. And so when I made the post and I saw the conversation that was developing, I realized that I now have grown in this area. And the emotional maturity has allowed me to let not just them, but to let me make a decision that's for me. My door is no longer just open. Now you can knock and we may be able to have a conversation because life is life, but I needed to not keep leaky boundaries where I have a swinging door. People that can just walk away from me, regardless of my commitment to them or dedication or loyalty, which has been the hardest thing for me. you can just walk away. I've learned to let them and then let me.
The part that I thought was interesting that I never really had thought about, like we've all had friends of different seasons, but this idea of a friendship ecosystem, like when you're in college or you're in school, you're in this close proximity and geography, like the things that make up a friend, hours and all the things. Like I never thought of it as an equation of sorts, I guess. I like them, so I hang out with them or whatever. So as an Army wife, I move every 3 years and have to make new friends. Now I'm in my midlife. The last thing I want to do is go out and make new friends. Or do they have the same political beliefs? Are they open-minded? Are they closed-minded? I have some high standards. I want somebody who I find interesting and fun. And to get time with those special, unique, wonderful, amazing people takes effort. And will I invest in that? Yes, but it takes time to get to that point where you want to invest effort.
Wow.
So I have learned over the last, 13 years, I need to be the one to say, hey, are you on Facebook? We should become friends. Or, hey, you want to go have coffee? Otherwise, I will never have friends, Queenie, wherever we go. I have to be the one to put myself out there. I still have some really good friends back home. But like my best friend before I got married, she didn't have kids. She wasn't married. And we were both single. We were best friends, inseparable, all together, all the time. She's my plus one everywhere. Now I have kids. Now I'm married. I have other responsibilities. She can go and travel. I can't. Like, she's moved on without me in her life. And my life has gone a different direction too, but we're still very good friends and she still comes to visit when I go there. So this idea of a friendship ecosystem, there are different people for different roles in your life, that people who fulfill certain parts of what you need. Somebody's maybe goofy, somebody's maybe serious, somebody's maybe smart, like the parts of you that you need to explore. One person does not need to fulfill all those roles.
Yeah. 100%. The ecosystem is real.
Yeah.
And I'm getting old. I'm like you. I don't want to have to make a whole lot of new friends. Although I can. Where I move, I'm going to reach out and create communities. This book has challenged me. My therapist is challenging me on one side, right? Because she's trying to teach me the lesson that I think she's trying to teach. She's also teaching me, one, to value those that do reach out a lot more, hold them closer. I don't feel like I work like one-on-one with individuals. I feel like I work in groups. And because I have this, it's just how I've been navigating, bring everybody together. And I said, I do want this year to be different for me. So this allows me to look at relationships. It challenges me to be intentional and do the work that I truly want to be proud of. Not because I want something back from them, but I want to be proud of extending myself intentionally into the areas with the people that truly bring me joy. And I have some amazing friendships. And I know I will not be able to connect with 100,000 people, but I'm going to be very intentional when I can be. So
and
that's
your intentionality is exactly where it's at. Intentional with who I choose to work with, intentional with who I give my time to. Time is so finite. You get to choose.
Man, there was so much friendship. I was a middle child. I grew up with 4 siblings, and I don't know exactly where that comes from, but I know it exists. And so I have spent a lot of my adult life trying to build community and trying to include everybody, probably because I often felt left out. And the way I deal with friendships, the people that I truly consider friendships and not necessarily just associates, is that I have always been the one to try to put in the work. I'm the one that's sending up the letters to my friends, to the people that I didn't realize for a long time as an adult is that just because I viewed someone as a friend and felt a certain way about them, it didn't mean that they felt the same way about me. I always assumed that the way I felt about that person is the way they felt about me. And that is a terribly hard lesson to learn. And that has been a very hard lesson for me to learn, that just because I view someone so well does not mean that they view me the same. Ooh. And that really entails to let them let me. I'm still evolving with some of my relationships and still learning to say, I understand that even though I feel incredibly close to this person does not feel that way about me. And so I'm not going to be a part of that circle. But you know what? That's still feel incredibly close to this person. I can still want to spoil them and nurture this relationship, even if they don't feel that way about me. So I'm learning to let them they want to live with the friendships they want to have and nurture the friendships that they want to have. Even if it's not me, but let me ask my sister to make beautiful pens and I will send them to my friends for Mother's Day. So that's the let me. And I'm still learning the let me in all of my relationships and my interactions. But I also find it hard to in theory, to make friends as an adult, even though I think I'm making one with a lady at work. I think we are becoming friends, and it surprises me because I'm resolved to the fact that the handful of people that I would consider my close friends, geographically dispersed, that's all I've got. And I'm just going to nurture and take care of them as much as I can. And someone new is coming to my life, and it's nice. I don't want to label myself, but I do think that I am an extroverted introvert.
I love what she said though, because I feel like even in like my husband-wife relationship that I have, I feel like if I'm going to put in the work, you should put in the work. There's this expectation of if I'm going to invest this much, you should invest this much. It's as intense as I am. I'm extremely loyal. I will go bend over backwards for you. I feel like I'm a really good friend. But not everyone's that. That's okay. If everyone was like me, oh my gosh, the world would be really crazy. And that's not the way everyone works. And what I have realized, and this is, again, taking time and wisdom of the years, is that's okay. Let them and let me. I will truly be me, and this is who I am, and accept me for him. And that's something she talks about too. Like, you don't have to convince anybody to love you, right? The right person that you're supposed to be friends with or in a relationship with or whatever is not going to be convincing. That they'll let you be who you are and love you for who you are. Might be annoying occasionally, but it's okay if you have accepted that about each other. But I think this idea of one for one was always in my head. If I'm all in, why aren't you? I totally get that.
Yeah. I do believe that reciprocity,
It's important.
listen, I'm not in a relationship with you not to feel something. I want to receive something, because if you're abusing me, I feel that, right? So if you're loving me back, I feel that as well. I'm in a relationship. I want something from it. But I do believe it is very much an unrealistic expectation to think that, as you said, you're going to be all in like I am. How often do we even meet in relationships where we're both at the same? I think we, as kids, young, when we first started dating, that might be what we actually wanted. We might have actually thought that he should love me the way I love him, feel a certain way, and we maybe not vibe with them. And I believe we just drug that right on into our adult lives. And again, I think, as you said earlier, both things can still be true at the same time, right? Both things can be happening. I just believe that we must find a balance. And I think the healthy mindset of let them let me and not take it personal, I think that helps us to grow and go, right? Because I know that I have held on to the thought of, well, they don't pick up the phone and call me, so why am I going to do that? Okay. But maturity now says, I'm still going to be all of who I am. And all of who I am is the person, if I have sporadically sent you a text, girl, I'm going to still continue to sporadic text, but I'm trying to show up as me. And I'm thankful that people accept me for being who I am, because I'm just not going to always be available. But when it's our time, I'm trying my best to work on it being our time. That's something that I didn't always do, because my brain, I'm all over the place all the time. I think now with the maturity, I have long-standing relationships. I've been friends with people for 30 years. You know what I mean? I'm so thankful for that. They know that I've not changed. This really is who I am.
Yeah.
But one thing for sure, if you call me, I am there. I'm going to drop everything and be there. And so now I try to just remain that person no matter what. The let me part is this, though. If they decide that they're still going to be unavailable or uninterested, now I really look at what the relationship is and getting what I truly need from that relationship. Because I have needs too, right? If I'm not, then I have a decision to make. Now that decision may be that I continue, or that decision may be that I fall back a little bit. And honestly, I've been falling back and I don't feel bad about it. Now, if they pick up the phone or if they show up, again, because of who I am, I welcome them with open arms.
We are in control of what and whom enters and exits our lives, who we give attention to, who we give our love to, who we give our energy to. And some people just don't deserve it. And it's not like they're like horrible people. It's just that they're not maybe the best friend for you, or they have other things going on. I know that when I became a mom, I wasn't as available. Like, I have to take care of my son and my family, and I have a business, and like I have a lot of responsibility. So I'm not as available, and I'm not one to call my friends every day. My friends know this about me though. But if I think about you, I'll send you a text and say, hey, I love you, or I'm just thinking about you and I miss you, or whatever. I get to decide what I put up with, what I didn't put up with. When I wrote my eulogy, it was like, who do I need to show up as to be the person I want to be in my eulogy? What skills, what things do I still have to learn? What do I have to let go of? What do I need to gain to be this person that has this beautiful eulogy? A real eye-opener for me of, I need to let so much of this go, because I can't be that person to live that amazing freaking life if I have to carry this big old boulder with me to that. It's just not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I feel this intentionality thing is like, you can let them intentionally, and you can let me intentionally live, I think, clear about what the kind of life you want to lead, the kind of people you want in your life. Like, you have to take some time to really evaluate, does that person who has dropped off the face of the earth and isn't available for you, is that who I want in my life? Is that who I'm wasting my energy on? And like you said, the door's open, and you can decide if it's a good choice, let them back in or whatever. That's your choice at that moment. But it may change the dynamic slightly. However, you get to decide. It's intentional at that point. And I think the theory makes it more intentional, because if you didn't have the words or the process, it's hard to be intentional about it. You're just letting it happen. Like, a proactive versus reactive, what you want to create.
Yeah. Gosh, only because you said proactive or reactive. I commented today on something talking about politics, and I was like, oh, America, we've been very reactive, proactive in this. So now we're in it together. Here you are complaining. You didn't see it coming. But anyway, I'm not going to go off the political.
I think actually this is really important. Let them light. It's important to a certain degree. Listen,
Very real.
I will not let you be an idiot and not call you out for it.
We are still growing. Absolutely.
I will not let you be an idiot and not say something like, I don't believe that, and then walk away or something. I will at least acknowledge that they have gone down a road that is not acceptable to me. And I have no problem saying, I like you as a person and I think you're a good person, but if you talk like that in front of me, I won't be in the room with you. Yeah, like, that is something. I have standards. And this time, I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm trying to stay informed and not totally freak out. So just let them be absolute idiots. Show you who they are. Let me see you for who you are. Racist, misogynist, whatever it is. Let me see you for who you are. So now I know intentionally where to put you in my life.
Yeah.
But if you decide to display that nonsense in front of me, like in my person, I probably will have at least a phrase to say, I disagree with you.
But isn't that the beauty of let me? Because you let them, they're going to show you who they are. But let me also have this conversation, and proximity changes. So that is the beauty of the let them theory. Like them, and then let me make an adjustment to what I want in my life. The door can swing, or I can choose to you knock on it, use the key, whatever. But hey, this right here, we're going to stop this. These leaky boundaries stops today. We can go on and on about this book, but I'm telling you, we have to come back and do a part 2 to maybe dive into something more. But there's so much. I just want the listeners to make a decision if they choose to read this book. And if you don't, then I'm going to let you. But if you take our word for it and decide to go buy it, then please find us on social media and let us know your thoughts, because I love hearing what rises up out of this book for us, because this is our life. This book, I think the words from this book, the concept, the theory, the theme, it resonates with many of us because of where we are in our life. I love that you're buying it for your girls because they're at a different stage in their life, right? They're at the beginning of their, right? Can you imagine if we learned this early?
So I'm saying, like, the way you're talking to your daughter now, oh my gosh, how empowered is she? Like, having this information now, like at 25, you're right. There's something to be said. So much. But Doreena, what are your thoughts as far as your daughters having this information now? I want to hear what she has to say.
That the beauty of adults that have children, learning themselves, identifying the trauma and the hurts, and trying to adjust and address those issues, and then passing that on to our children and giving them. I was talking to someone earlier today, and he was like, I want these young men to grow up to be men. And I was like, you know what? I'm looking at giving my children that they have a tool belt, this invisible tool belt around their waist. And I'm giving them stuff that I didn't learn from my parents, because my parents were so busy just trying to live life and pay bills, work, and not get evicted from the benefit of learning so much more and being so much more aware, having access to therapy, and I can give them these tools earlier. And so I think it's such a beautiful thing that as we adults are learning and growing and continue to learn and grow, we can pass this on to our children so that they can get it earlier, that as they can learn how to set boundaries, like you were saying, Queen, and not have those leaky boundaries to love. And they can learn how to engage with people at work and in their interpersonal relationships, and they just get it earlier.
Yeah. I love that. I love all of that. We know we pass trauma down to our children, right? Parents and generations before. But I believe we can also pass down healing. So we pass down the trauma, but we can choose intentional and pass down our healing as well. So that's, for me, when we talk about the kid, I am now trying to shoulder my children up with as much healing information, healing energy as possible, right? However, I still know I raised them in my own trauma, whether they knew it or not. Now I am trying to create a space. I think I've been doing it, but now I'm more intentional. Create a space that feels like healing. It feels like a healthy environment. Like everywhere they look, they see something. And not just that, but I am acting it out every single day.
Yeah.
That's my journey. Let them, let me, let us. Beverly.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like all we can do is do the best that we can do with the tools. I love the idea of the tool belt, the tools that we have to empower our kids. I just had a conversation with Zeke about somebody being mean. I said, let him, but what can you do? And he was like, I can walk away. I was like, yes, you sure can.
I love that.
If it filters down, if it gives moments of clarity, this more intentional way of viewing other people's behavior outside of yourself, and how you get to choose to show up in that experience, that's a gift that will last forever. That is beautiful in so many ways. We're all just trying to do our best as parents and what we have and what we can do. And I know we're all going to screw them up in some way, shape, or form, but we also can create the other side of it as well. Give them other ways to be more successful, to be happier, more well-adjusted, more okay with who they are.
I always say that I want to send my children out into the world as emotionally, mentally healthy. And I just really feel like this book, reading this book and absorbing it will just add to that tool belt and just make them much more rounded human. That's all I want, is for them to have the boundaries, have the love, the grace. You mentioned extending grace to people. And I think this is really going to be just an addition to the tool belt.
And we all need more happy, adjusted, healthy adults in the world.
I love being able to openly, safely express what I learned while reading this book. And I will read again. Yes, here I am. I'm letting them everywhere. In the spa, I'm reading, and I'm on the treadmill, I'm listening, right? So it has just been, even though I say oversimplified, and it was, man, did it call me to look at it differently when I really got into it and started doing the work and started doing the practice. And throughout my day, trying to find opportunities. I was looking for opportunities to let them. At work, I'm all stressed out, and I'm like, oh. And then I just like, it's all good. It's all good. It allowed me to get out of my faults a lot quicker, a lot sooner. Even I find myself chuckling, let them like riding down the street. I know this is on the Oprah book club. She said it's like her favorite self-help book.
Yeah, that she's ever read. I can sing because she has read so many books.
Right. Yes, yeah. I think this one did it for her. And again, it's such a conversational piece. It's easy read that empowers to do something different with our energy versus focusing so much and dwelling and allowing it. I ruminated, bad one, that I couldn't freaking control. This has allowed me to sleep. This has allowed me to be reflective. This has allowed me to release. And I know your word is intentionality, Bev. That's what this thing did for you. For me, it was relief. You tell us what word jumps out for you. I got relief, and it feels so freaking good to say it. What was yours?
My word thus far, still got another 2 more pages to go, is accepted. I am accept where the people in my life are and not impose my stuff on them and not impose how they fit into my life and how I want them to fit into my life. Just acceptance, because when I learn to accept the people that I choose to have in my life, going back to what Ben said earlier about choice, when I accept the people that I choose to have in my life, I'm much more free. And like I can be who I am with you and not have any resentment or bitterness attached to living my full life. I accept you. So my word is definitely acceptance.
I love you, Paul. And so we got 3 words. To you that's listening, what's your word? Acceptance, relief, intentionality. What is your word? And when you find us, wherever you find us, I'm asking that you leave your word. That acceptance hit me. I appreciate you giving that to me.
Me too.
I love
Release too. Release is really powerful, Queenie. Queenie said, your word is important, but how are you applying let them and let me into your life? We'd love to hear how this has affected you. If it's one area, all areas, like share with us, tell us, because clearly we've all had a really amazing conversation with how it's affected all of our lives.
If I can just say one thing before you go, in today's time, to me personally, there's no better time to apply this to your life because there's so many things that you just cannot control. But if we are more intentional about the things that we do have within our little circle of influence, right? Like I can get my butt up and go to the gym. Yeah, I can manage that.
Meditate. I
can do that. I can take a walk. Thank goodness I'm free to go take a walk. Choose to eat healthier food because I can journal. Exactly. So these are the things. I can have my good wine tonight. And she can have her wine or water with the red bottom glass. Doreena can drink her wine tonight. Nice. You can control what you can't.
Yeah. There's no reason to struggle so much with exhaustion and stress and anxiety.
Yes.
So we hope that this is a gift for you all and that you will take the time to read it. Mel Robbins is amazing. She has the Mel Robbins podcast. She has the 5-second rule. She has the high five theory, I think, where you high five yourself in the morning. Have you read those?
Yeah.
I just listened to her podcast today about the 6 things you should do when you first wake up. Super powerful. She has lots of things to share. She's got lots of wisdom around this topic right now. A lot of her podcast episodes are breaking down little elements of this. So I would encourage you to also follow her. I will also drop Queenie's podcast into my show notes. If you have any questions, want to explore the conversation further, please just share. Thank you.
No, thank you. This was great, Bev. I love that.
This was really lovely. It was perfect. It was conversational. It was exactly what it needed to be. And I'm so glad that Doreena joined us. And I hope that I can connect with her at some point through Facebook or whatever. But it's really lovely to have a conversation. And it lives stronger when we say it out loud.
Oh, it lives stronger when we say it out loud. True statement. True statement. I'll make sure Doreena on Facebook stalks you, or I'll put her in our group. She's amazing in her own right.
What's interesting is like, as a friend level, like you and I have never, ever met in person. We were introduced by Molly, who's freaking amazing, and I love her to pieces, and connected over something that was happening politically. And I know that it was even like an interesting topic to cover from your perspective. Like you were a little bit nervous about covering it. I was nervous about covering it.
I noticed, like, I'm Black and you're not. No, you're white and I'm not.
And then since that, I think we've been very supportive of each other, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And so I just think that you never know when that friendship may appear or what that friend will do.
You have such a beautiful energy. I do want Doreena to connect with you so she can see a lot of your super positive posts and informative posts and opinionated posts. I love that. I love all of that. I promise you, I think she'll enjoy that. So I'll make sure that she does not. So.
I never told you the story when we talked last time. Doreena, I have an African-American son that I adopted, just so you know. That's how I became very invested in Black Lives Matters and different things. Huge wake-up call. I was really upset. I was really angry during Black Lives. So I was having to come to terms with a lot of things. It was a very powerful time for me as a human.
But I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. It was not an easy time for any of us. And you showed us all who you were. And you stood by that, and I appreciate that. And so Zeke is very lucky.
I am the lucky one. He's like, it's scary for me, and for him, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Beverly, thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and let's connect soon.